everybody, I'm Teresa.
And I'm Ronnie.
And we're the Traveling Gilberts.
And we just giggly bunched this today because we're coming at you for one of our favorite talks. For first-time cruisers and maybe the seasoned cruiser, we're talking about cruise ports. We're not talking about the ports of call. We're not talking about where you're getting off the ship, blah, blah, blah. We're talking about where you cruise out of. Mm-hmm. Now, we've been to 4 pretty popular cruise ports, I would say. We've been to some that are closer to us, and we've been to some that's kind of far off. We're going to talk about those 4 that we've been to and let you know a little bit about the ease of embarkation, debarkation, and what our thoughts are. Mm-hmm. So let's start out with our first cruise port, the one we cruise out of the most.
Because we live here.
Because we live here in Louisiana, and that's New Orleans. What do you think about the Port of New Orleans?
I think the Port of New Orleans is great. I mean, it's easy. I'd highly, highly recommend parking at the port, though. Yes. I would not recommend doing the other parking garages where you have to take a shuttle unless you can't get into the port. We've never, ever had a problem getting in, though. So if you're driving, park at the port.
Yes.
At the port parking garage, and you're right there. So it's always pretty easy. It's very organized. I never had any issues. Sometimes there can be a long line, but that's with any port. It's a little bit smaller, I think, than the other 3.
Yeah, it is.
Maybe comparable to Galveston, maybe.
Maybe.
But yeah, no problems at all. I think the New Orleans port is great.
Yeah, and the thing is too with New Orleans is when you turn down Henderson Street, if you're driving, you turn down Henderson, you can take I think it's the first or second left, and you can get to the cruise port that way. But believe me, drive all the way down to Mardi Gras World and hang a left. Mm-hmm. That way you can go right into the parking garage, drop your luggage off, hit the elevators, and you're right where you need to be.
Yeah.
It's super easy. We've done the shuttle. I'm going to tell you, if you ever drove in New Orleans, you know how the one-ways and the construction and all the things that go on. The other, the $3 a night or $5 a night that you're saving is really not worth the hassle of what you're going to have to go through because you're going to be fighting over a spot on these little bitty shuttles. And you're having to wait for the next one, or you're going to have to push somebody out of the way and jump
your
on
luggage, getting your luggage off. Yeah, it's just a pain.
It really is.
That part was not smooth.
No.
And I think in other ports that may be a little more organized, but it could have just been this particular parking garage, but it was a nightmare. That part was. Yeah. So yeah, park at the port.
Park at the port. Just budget for it if you're driving. And and if you're flying, you won't have any problems. You just take an Uber and they drop you off or taxi and you're done.
Yeah. Another thing about the New Orleans port is you're leaving out of the Mississippi River, so you're not actually in the ocean at that point. Make sure you're out on the balcony. Check it out. You can see a lot of the sights. There's a lot of houses and businesses and all kinds of stuff. You'll see people on the levee waving at you. I mean, it's fun to watch it, and it's the muddy Mississippi River, but
that's right.
Yeah, it's cool. How long does it take you to get out of the
It takes quite a while. It's a few hours before you actually can get out there.
Yeah, just make sure you're out there whenever you're leaving. Check it out.
Yeah. All right. Next port is Port Canaveral, right off Cocoa Beach. It is in Cocoa Beach. It's close to Orlando. I mean, it's a great little port. I mean, we went on the Mardi Gras. We went and stayed with some friends. We've stayed with at an Airbnb. We had a great time with our family, and it was. I'm gonna tell you, we drove both times our car. Well, we had somebody drop us off one time, but we drove, parked the whole thing. It was smooth as glass as far as I'm concerned for a big port like that, because Port Canaveral, when you go toward the port, that's all that's down there except for a little place called Jetty Park. And that's where everybody hangs out, does a little fishing on the pier, and they watch the cruise ships come and go.
Yeah, so when you go to Port Canaveral to leave out on your ship, get there the night before and go to Jetty Park. You got to do it. I mean, it's just one of those things. You got to do it.
Yeah.
But I will say that Port Canaveral, you're going to want to make sure that you get an early onboarding time, because we were early. And there were lines outside after we, were kind of up at the top, and they were standing in the heat. So that might not be the best thing. We haven't experienced that because we had early onboarding times, and we were able to get on the ship. So just kind of keep that in mind.
Yeah, and it didn't seem like the wait in the port area was very long on that, especially on the Harmony of the Seas. Now, the Carnival ship, it was a little bit longer, but it seemed longer because everybody was kind of packed in one area, but it really went kind of fast. I mean, I've been in lines that were a lot worse.
Yeah, it did go fast. And go back to New Orleans, though, I will say that there's only been one time, and that's where we've cruised from mostly, that we've ever had to stand in line outside. Of course, it's still shaded because we were under the awning, but one time. Most of the time, you're right in the door. So
yeah, that's true. So let's talk about the next one. We're talking about the Port of Miami. We've cruised out of Miami once, and it was on the horizon. We flew down, and of course we took an Uber to the port. I mean, we stayed there the night before, took an Uber to the port, and it took us probably a good 45 minutes to get that last little half mile out of the way.
I'm still white knuckling over Miami. I'm telling you see this?
There is too much traffic in front of the port.
God.
There's more traffic in front of this port that there's undoubtedly there's other things. It's what do you want to call it? A pass through, and right here by this port, it's not like it's down there by itself. There is people trying to get to where they need to go. It's a madhouse.
Yeah. Now, we did not park, so that it may be easier to go park in a garage and then get there. I have no idea. But taking an Uber there was the scariest thing. I mean, it was like this.
There were
there were cars there were no lines.
Yeah,
and it was like lines. 8 lanes of this.
I think there were supposed to be 4 lanes, but it turned into like 8 lanes with 18-wheelers in the middle of it.
It was.
And the 18-wheelers decide they're going to do something. They just did it, and that was just the way it was going to be.
But once we got in the port.
But once we got out of the Uber in front of the port and walked in, smooth as glass. It was really, really smooth.
Yes, very fast, very easy to get in. No issues at all. No confusion on where we were going.
No, and couldn't believe we're getting on. Oh, we're getting on the ship. It's time. We were sitting on the ship, 10:30 in the morning. It was great.
Yeah.
So, our last cruise was out of
Galveston,
the port of Galveston. The drive down, we were going to avoid the ferry.
We live about 5.5, 6 hours from Galveston.
And there's a ferry that goes across and pulls you right into where you need to be. But we were going to avoid that because we didn't want to have to wait and all this because we were driving down the morning of. But we she went to sleep, and I'm not the best in the world. I'm not a smart man.
We took a wrong turn.
I'm not a smart man. But anyway, we wound up going on the ferry. They were waving us on. We got on the ferry. They chocked the wheels, and off we went, and we were there in 15, 20 minutes.
And if you can do it just like we did, I would recommend doing it. It was cool.
Yeah, but it was. I'm sure it doesn't do that every time.
I've heard some people say they had to wait like an hour.
Yeah, but it was very smooth for us. We got there. We got there too early to park our car in the garage that we had reserved.
Right.
So, and that's another thing with Galveston. You kind of got to reserve some parking. You got to think about your parking before the cruise.
Because the parking is on one side of the street. The port where you actually get on the ship is on the other. There is one.
There's a couple
parking lots there.
Yeah, there's parking lots on the other side.
But they're open. They're not covered. They're not monitored.
No.
Well, they may be monitored. I don't know, but they're just there.
Yeah.
So we paid for our parking ahead of time.
Yes.
Had a little confusion finding the parking garage because Mardi Gras was going on.
That was the thing. There was a big Mardi Gras celebration going on, and a lot of the roads were closed. So you couldn't just drive where you needed to go. But we finally found it, and it was smooth. I mean, we just walked across the street and jumped on the ship.
Right. Now, that being said, that may not be the smoothest for everybody because it may be an issue for them to walk across the street.
That's true.
I'm sure you can pull up into the port and drop your luggage off. So we didn't do that. And most people didn't.
Yeah.
So it wasn't very clear where to go to do that. But I'm sure there is. So y'all have to tell us. And like I said, most people didn't. Everybody had their luggage dragging it out of there. But if you have any mobility issues, you're definitely going to want to get somebody to drop you off in front of the port.
Yeah.
That's another thing. Once we got across the road, it wasn't very clear
where to go,
which one we needed to go into.
Yeah, so that
a
was the
little
thing.
confusion.
Where those two Carnival ships were, they were like this. They were back to back. And so, and then this one was the Vista, and we were getting on the Dream, and we're parked in front of the Vista, basically.
And everybody's lined up, and you're going, where do I go? So that would be a negative. It wasn't awful.
Yeah, because we could tell, hey, that's the Vista. We could see it, and that's the Dream. So we're going to have to go down a little further.
So we had to go out and around all these people, though, to get to where we needed to be. So once we got there and got on, it was easy.
And that being said, that's also a little issue on the way home. This was the Vista, this was the Dream when we got on the ship. When we came back, well, the Dream parked where the Vista was.
And all the parking garages looked the same.
And so we're like, we need to go this way because that's, we thought that's where we needed to go because that's the way it was. But guess what? We were here. So we just had to walk across the street.
Yeah, so keep your bearings about you.
Yeah.
What we were looking for is our parking garage had like vines growing out of it. And we knew this. So we're like, there it is.
Yeah, no, that was
a lot of them have vines growing out of them.
So anyway, that was it. And other than getting on the ship, it was smooth. It was, once again, it was easy process. Mm-hmm. But Galveston does have some drawbacks.
What's that?
Galveston, the drink package. Now we get the drink package pretty much every cruise. You get on in New Orleans, drink packages in effect. You do your thing. You go to Port Canaveral, you jump on the ship, your drink packages in effect. You do your thing. Mm-hmm. Same thing with Miami.
You have to pay taxes. You pay
you pay the little.
New Orleans, you do.
The little 10, 15 cents, whatever it is. But Galveston, you jump on the ship. Your drink package is not ready until the next day. It doesn't go into effect till day 2.
So you're paying for your drinks the first day, which is the day we typically drink the most. So we'll remember that next time. But I got a little confused because I ordered a Cosmo and I couldn't understand him. He was saying something. Finally gives me my drink and I'm like, all right, well, let's go. And I went to try to order another one. And the guy was like, no, can't serve the hard liquor right here. Yeah. I was like,
now the thing is, you got to wait until you're 2 hours, basically. You've got to be out of Texas waters. This is a rule that, it's a law that I have here. This is the law right here. And it basically says there's a law on the books that says it prohibits the practice of basically an all you can drink kind of thing. If it is a law that says if it's encouraged or allowed overconsumption, it is against the law in Texas. So there is no all you can drink anything in Texas or in Texas waters. Mm-hmm. Also, I noticed when I ordered a beer, the beer didn't taste right. And I'm like, what's up with this beer? And come to find out, it's like what do you call it, a 3.5 beer, 3.2 beer, or whatever. It's not full strength beer, and it actually said Texas Edition on top of the can. Mm-hmm. So it's a weaker beer. And the thing is with that, and there's a limited selection of things that they can serve you until they're 2 hours away from Texas. Right. The reason that is also here. If your alcohol permit that you have is not from Texas, basically, or the alcohol that you're serving wasn't bought in Texas,
you're not supposed to serve.
You can't serve it.
And I accidentally got my Cosmo in it.
So there that is. So it's just one of them things. It's a Texas law. Mm-hmm. So they don't charge you on your drink package that first day, and they do not charge you the last day because you are basically in Texas. So if you're on an 8-day cruise, you're not having to pay for an 8-day drink package. You're paying for a 6 or whatever it is.
So what if you I've been in New Orleans where we have actually parked the night before.
Yeah.
And I called you one time when I was on the girls' cruise. I'm like, we're here. We just got to wait till the morning to get off.
Yeah.
What if that happens in Galveston?
If that happens in Galveston, you're not drinking.
No, that would suck. Especially the last night. Now, nobody gets up the next morning and drink. Well, most people don't, but
yeah, it's just a law. And the thing is from what the research I have done is the drink package is in effect on Royal Caribbean. But their drink selection is limited, just like Carnival's is.
the Royal Caribbean pays for it.
Yeah, I think there's a penalty that is issued that Carnival does not want to pay, and I think that Royal Caribbean actually pays it and just goes on about their business, even though they can't serve the hard liquor.
Some things, yeah.
So there it is. There are the ports. There are
The ones we've been on.
the ones we've been to. We will try to hit some more later
Obviously,
on.
we're deep south.
Yes,
Deep south of the Mason-Dixon lines.
that's right.
So we have all of our ports have been south. So
Yep.
one of these days, maybe we'll experience some other ports.
Yeah, so do you have a favorite port? Do you have a local port that you know the ins and outs of? Leave a little note in the comments and let us know. And maybe you can help another cruiser out or you can help us out.
Right. Absolutely.
All right, it's time for the He Said, She Said.
Yes, sir.
Baby doll, do you have a favorite port so far? We've been to 4 great ports. Take the ship out of it. Now take the ship away. It could be any ship at any port. What is your favorite port to go out of so far? Look what I did there.
See, I have a port that if I lived close to it is the one I would want to go out of more often than the others.
Well, I think that's the one you have to pick.
But no,
No?
sir,
Oh.
you can't tell me what I have to pick.
Okay. Hey.
But the other port would be my second favorite, and it is a lot easier to access. If I had to go with the ease of getting on the ship, the timeliness, the not overcrowded, I would say Port Canaveral. If I had to go with location, fun crowd, sometimes a rowdy crowd, still easy to get on. I know where I'm at. I'm not lost. New Orleans.
New Orleans. Well, there you go.
So I'm right.
No, you're not right. The thing is, I'm going to tell you, even with all of the drawbacks of Galveston,
So I got the straight lip.
no. Even after all the drawbacks to the Galveston, with the drinking and all the things, I'm going to be honest, it was easy to drive to. It was easy to park. It was easy to get on the ship. It's one of my favorites.
You're wrong.
Port Canaveral could be the best organized port that there is. I do believe that. It's a long way from where I live. New Orleans, love New Orleans. Love New Orleans, but I go to New Orleans a lot. And I don't know, I'm kind of leaning toward Galveston for some reason. Leaning toward Galveston just because it was easy to drive to, easy to get on, and I didn't worry about my car. Things get a little rough down in New Orleans, especially when you leave in your car.
Not when you're at the parking garage.
Not at the port
Not at the
parking
port
garage
parking
so
garage.
much, but it's just getting out, getting in that little area right there at New Orleans. It was just a lot easier at Galveston.
Okay, there you
So
go.
there it is.
Once again, I'm right.
Once again, as long as I'm getting on the ship, it really don't matter to me.
That's true.
I'm gonna have a good time. If I struggle to get on the ship, oh well. So
Okay.
there it is. If anybody has any comments or you had a good experience, bad experience at a port, let us know. If we're wrong about Miami, we've only done it once. Was that an isolated incident? Were we just a bad time of the year?
Ooh.
Let us know. So until next time.
Don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell so that you can get more cruise tips.
From the Traveling Gilberts.
The Traveling Gilberts.
Until next time, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.